I'll be damned. I will be damned. Netflix managed to do the unthinkable and they made a really good live action adaptation of an anime. And not just any anime, but One Piece. I genuinely can't believe it. I went into this knowing what was going on with production, but I still had zero expectations for this because we've been down this road before when it comes down to live action anime adaptations. But I ended up being shocked throughout the entirety of the viewing of the show. The turnaround of opinions of how the show was coming out was really interesting to see in real time. At first we were all like, oh, there goes Netflix again, about to take another big IP, not understanding it at first. And the trailer came out for it and everyone was like, yeah, this is not the move, boys. Then the second trailer came out and people were like, hold on, you might be onto something here. Then the show dropped and everyone was like, oh man, this is actually amazing. The amount of back and forth on this is nothing that I've seen before when it comes down to things like these, but we're gonna talk about it. The cast for this show, I'll have to say, was perfect. Everyone managed to embody the character they were supposed to be portraying, which, as you've seen from past live actions on Netflix, they failed to do that on numerous occasions. They either A, didn't look the part, or B, wasn't even close to what the character even is. But Netflix's One Piece avoids both of those problems. Iñaki Godoy's Luffy has this childlike wonderment about him. He's not as ridiculously stupid as he is in the manga or anime, which I loved in both because it's funny, but in the live action he's not close to that. He has moments where he can be dense but not overly dense. His Luffy has such good comedic timing. There are a lot of times where he'll just be doing something and it will get me to laugh because it was at the appropriate time and it lands.
You think they know we're here?
No, I think they're after the other thief, an idiot pirate trying to steal a map.
What are the odds of that? Kidding.
Iñaki Godoy really leaned himself into this role and got across who Luffy is, even though it's slightly different, but it works all the same. Emily Rudd's Nami was really nice to see unfold, especially seeing as we got up to the Arlong Park arc, so she was able to display the emotional range she could have in the role.
Arlong! Arlong! Arlong!
She embodies how crafty Nami is and how self-serving the character is. She's always reacting when the boys are doing some dumb shit, but there's some charm to it whenever it happens. She's always smooth in how she operates, and they made her shine a lot in the fight scenes, which I'll talk about more later, but she held it down in her portrayal. Mac and you as Zoro. Man, this dude is just cool. From the way he walks, from the way his lines delivered with this low amount of energy as if nothing matters to him is great because it's reminiscent of how Zoro is in the manga/anime. There's a lot of care put into how chill and laid back he is. Zoro in particular could have went south because you could have had a situation where the actor is attempting to be cool versus someone that just is. And Maki was just cool like that, and the direction he was given was able to bring that to life. Jacob Romero's Usopp made him really fun to see. He really meshes well with the whole cast and the chemistry between them was great. He'd enter the scene and he already feels like he's someone's best friend. That innocence about him helped sell that Usopp is an all-around good person and great guy to have around. And finally, Taz Skylar as Sanji. Now Sanji's my boy, and the changes made to him in the live action worked out for the better. Anyone that knows Sanji knows that the man is down for all the women he comes across and is very hell-bent on female attention, simping tremendously for them. In the live action he's a lot more reserved than how he is in the anime, which is a welcome change. Even though I love Sanji originally, this is one of those changes that will benefit the character and is really a thing that should just be in anime and manga. Sanji in the live action is more of a smooth talker, than he is a full-blown savage when it comes down to it, and that makes him seem a lot more believable. Love to see more of his character shine on later. So all around, the Straw Hats really sold you on them being a full-on crew. It really makes you appreciate the dynamic they all share, and it's going to make for even better scenes with the news we got regarding the future of the series. Netflix's One Piece is only 8 episodes long, but they're all an hour long. Starts us off at East Blue and then ends at the very end of the Arlong Park arc, which is a really good stopping point and gets you introduced to all the Straw Hats starting out and gives you a really good look into Nami's character and why she goes about her life the way that she does and her reasoning for why she hates pirates. Now with this came some changes. There's a lot of focus on the Marines this time around. Usually the Marines are in the background in the world of One Piece and focus is usually put on them for when it's needed, but they're always a factor within the series. But the Netflix live action takes the time to show you what's going on with Garp, Kobe, and Helmeppo, which is fine. Helps flesh out more of the world to show that other things are going on within the show. For anyone that knows One Piece, there's 1,000,001 moving parts, so it makes sense for why this change is made. Garp appears way later in the series, but them introducing him to us so soon works for showing you the dichotomy between him and Luffy early on. Don Krieg's fight with the Straw Hats was cut, which I was expecting to see in the live action, but we didn't get the big brawl between them, which does come at the cost of some Sanji character development, but I'm sure they'll make up for that later. And also because they wanted to show that Mihawk is that guy, he ends up just taking him and his crew out anyway to really sell you on him being a problem. The episodes being an hour long helps catch you up to speed with the events of the world. For an adaptation like this, you have to be able to condense the story in a way for it to flow naturally, because 30 minutes per episode with all this content would just run you into it being more of the anime and not a live action adaptation. It was able to cover a fair amount of ground and to not make it seem as intimidating as the manga and anime is for a lot of people. As I mentioned before, the show does take some liberties which it obviously had to take. We get a lot more time with Buggy, which is great because Buggy, played by Jeff Ward, is a joy to watch. He's not as overly animated as Buggy can be, but he definitely shows how underhanded and scummy he is. He has a lot of comedic scenes which don't feel forced or ham-fisted, they just feel like something the character would do in the situation. For example, with Orange Town, Buggy ends up fighting Luffy in a circus arena, which I remember stating in my initial video of the live-action One Piece that it works out for them to try and hide some CG usage. We know it's prevalent, but not too noticeable with the darker set change. We didn't get to see the Buggy Bomber choo-choo either. The change with Garp and moving him up in the story sooner was supposed to serve as a chase throughout this first season, which Oda himself signed away on and was fine with. This doesn't take away from anything, but rather, it reinforces Luffy's ideology and dream of wanting to become king of the pirates. That even being faced with such an overlooming threat in Garp, that he's still able to push through him for the sake of his goals, which is very true to Luffy's character. Usually when liberties are taken with these adaptations on Netflix, it comes at the cost of the characters or the story as a whole, but with One Piece, this isn't the case, and they're done with the characters and story in mind. There's a lot of care and attention put into how the show's story is told, and we have a very particular man to help thank for this. Eiichiro Oda. This man plays such an integral role to the making of this show, it's insane. Netflix themselves didn't want anything put into the show that he himself wouldn't agree to, and who has a better understanding of the One Piece world than the man who wrote the damn thing in the first place. Oda was very meticulous in the handling of this show, even when it came down to the uses of CG and VFX, because as we know, effects in live action anime can be, well, you know. And seeing as CG has come a long way and could look amazing, there was safety in trying to bring this show to life. Oda's biggest concern was trying to find someone who could play Monkey D. Luffy. He even had a sit-down interview with Iñaki Godoy. First off, lucky him because he was able to meet Oda and have a genuine conversation with him, and that's something only I could dream of happening. And just listen to this.
もうまず僕の描く漫画みたいな人だと思ったから、もう直感的にルフィだって思った。
I feel like this role was meant to be, and I want to play Luffy for a very long time.
本当にそうしてほしい。もう君以外想像できない今のところ。
And I'd have to agree. There was never a time Iñaki Godoy felt out of place as Luffy. He was never annoying. He fit perfectly. He looks the part, acted the part. He is Luffy. And Oda had an eye for that and saw that he believed him to embody the character. First off, to be an actor and receive the level of praise from Oda, and Iñaki is only 20. Yeah, life is made for me, man. I can retire in peace. They had to go through several reshoots to be able to make the scenes stick, to be able to get scenes to be just right. A lot of the time, live action animes get lambasted for the low amount, or at times, non-existent amount of effort put into them, but that's another thing that's not present here. If anything, they tried their damnedest to make sure it was great, and they weren't taking less than great. And a major reason why the live action works is because of this attention to detail. A lot of what you see in Netflix's One Piece are practical, full-on built sets and ships by hand. It could have easily been green screened and went that route, but they handcrafted these sets and they look gorgeous. It makes you feel like you could just waltz in on over there and just live in the world, and I'm sure that's what Oda was going for. And with these sets came the fights and the stunts that went along with them, because watching the action take place was actually really engaging. None of it looked sloppily put together, and a lot of it is still practical, and several corners could have been cut to deliver on the action. We could have had several camera cuts within the fights, we could have gotten some intense shaky cam, but no, we got genuine fight scenes and they all worked. And like anything else with this show, a lot of time was put into how the fight scenes came across. For Usopp, they had Jacob Romero do marksmanship training with a slingshot. They could have put CG on whatever he was throwing at them and called it a day. They realistically didn't need to give him any training of any kind, but they did. And I have to keep stressing how much they did for this show. Even down to how Sanji fights in the show. In order for his fights to not seem boring and repetitive, it threw a splash of various forms of fighting. They wanted capoeira and a bit of breakdancing into the mix, and that's amazing. They wanted Nami to work more with her bow staff so she seems just as capable a fighter as the rest of the crew, and Oda always wants Nami to feel like she can fend for herself and doesn't need to be rescued. Everything came together in this nicely put together package, and I couldn't have asked for more, honestly, out of the production of this one. Netflix did the unthinkable with this, and it's still mind-boggling to me. Now, with all this having been said, does this make me feel hopeful for other anime adaptations? No. And I'll tell you why. One Piece is a very rare case of having the creator be as hands-on with this project as possible, and the people in production being very receptive to changes. This method isn't the case for the vast majority of these adaptations. For example, Netflix is going to do an adaptation of Yu Yu Hakusho. Now, for anyone that knows, they are not about to sit there and get Yoshihiro Togashi to be as hands-on with this as Oda is, because the man is in ungodly amounts of poor health. The man can barely even write Hunter x Hunter chapters as it is, so to expect him to be hands-on with a full-on TV series might be asking a whole lot out of him. One Piece is showing us that not all live-action adaptations have to be awful, but I don't see it being the start of the live-action anime renaissance that we all wanted to have. Video game adaptations are in that sphere right now, and they had to suffer through decades of buns adaptations, but as it stands with anime live actions, there's still a lot to prove. Hats off to the team for One Piece, but it's now on to others to see this as an example and see if they can follow suit. Hopefully they can, but I'm not holding my breath on it. Netflix managed to shatter everyone's expectations with this. People went into this with an open mind and came out of it huge fans of the show. The show did historic numbers for Netflix, being in its top 10 shows for 2 weeks now, totaling 37.8 million views since it debuted. The outpouring amount of support from people that don't watch or read One Piece originally, and the diehard fans of the anime and manga that love it. Even One Piece content creators have been singing the praise for the live action. This is a rare moment in time for a live action anime to have this amount of support like this, and it's overwhelmingly positive. One Piece is doing splendid in the manga right now. Wano has finally concluded in the anime, giving us some of the best animation in the past 4 years that you'll see in your life. And now the live action being so successful, it already got greenlit for another season. All in all, that's a fantastic time to be a One Piece fan, and I couldn't be prouder of a series that means a lot to me and the world. If you were to tell me years ago that out of all the adaptations an anime would get, Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, Fullmetal Alchemist, and One Piece, if you told me One Piece would be the one to get the best adaptation out of all of them, I'd think you were insane. But yeah, the show was great. Can't wait to see more from the live action Straw Hats, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.